Hello, I'm Hutch and welcome to my video. I'm just flicking through some of my recent work. As you can see, I'm still doing my vermilion drawing challenge and I've really been experimenting with doing lots of landscapes. So today I'm going to be painting another landscape. Again, I'll be using my Jackson's Art vermilion drawing ink. For the sketching here, I'm just using this light purple Pentel or Ergo Soft Erase pencil. I don't know if they're actually marketed as being erasable, but on this Chatty paper, they erase really well, which means that they're actually really good for sketching. One of the things that I really wanted to challenge myself with this vermilion drawing challenge is to not just sketch in my usual mechanical pencil. I haven't banned myself from using it, however, I've kind of put an emphasis that I had these three pencils, this light purple and two other more red colours, and I wanted to sketch in them and kind of practice sketching in a different colour to just kind of grey. And I've really been enjoying it. This purple pencil's been my favourite because it contrasts really nicely with the vermilion drawing ink. When I started this drawing challenge, I wasn't expecting the coloured pencils to be something which I'd really develop further on, but it's been a really pleasant surprise. I really like how I've been able to develop my sketching and my kind of composition via using these coloured pencils. And I think that's what's really great about setting yourself a painting or a drawing challenge is the outcomes won't be what you expected. When I set myself this vermilion painting challenge, I was hoping that I would develop upon my kind of more abstract mark making to do with landscapes. However, I wasn't expecting to develop on my sketching and my kind of coloured pencil work. That wasn't a goal I was expecting to get out of it. Just going to the painting, I'm using masking fluid here and I accidentally got a chip of dried drawing ink. That's kind of stained the masking ink a bit and I'm using a brush which is way too small to fill this area. But it's okay, the show kind of has to go on, and so now I'm starting with doing the usual kind of light wash I do on all my landscapes, or well, on all my paintings. I'm just cleaning up where there's little bits of dust and stuff. One of the things with painting with ink is if there's any kind of muck on the page, it will kind of stick that muck down into the paper once you've applied the ink, so it's really important to get rid of any dust or any little chips before you kind of start painting. Going back to the topic of drawing challenges, I think there's a few different reasons why an art challenge is beneficial to your progress as an artist. So for me, the most important one is to learn a skill really well. So there was two skills I was hoping to get out of this. First of all was to improve my landscape drawing, and mostly kind of more abstract landscape drawings. I wanted to kind of experiment a lot more with mark making, not just trying to do something really realistic. The second thing was to not focus too much on painting a subject in the same colours as it would be realistically. So you don't see grass, which is vermilion in real life. You do see some trees which are red, but in general they're not red. And you don't see kind of fields in the distance which are red. And these are developing my skill of conceptualizing as an artist. So it's not a skill like being able to draw a tree really well in drawing ink, a technical skill in that sense. It's a kind of a softer skill, which I think can be harder to build upon. There is lots of videos and guides on different exercises you can do to push yourself, but doing a challenge like this, it's basically a really long exercise in pushing my conceptualization. Another skill that I've built upon is sketching with coloured pencils. This wasn't something, like I said, I anticipated working on. However, that's part of why doing drawing challenges are good. You end up building skills which you hadn't realised you wanted to learn or didn't realise would really benefit you as an artist. So all of these skills that I've built upon, these also push me out of my comfort zone. And I think that's something really important to do as an artist, is if you see something which is a bit of a blocker for you and you're quite uncomfortable doing however you want to do, just do it. Force yourself to do a series of paintings doing that thing, and at the end of it, if you still are really uncomfortable, it makes you anxious to paint, then you don't have to do it again. But by forcing yourself to practice and to push yourself, you will most likely come out of it a better artist, even if it fails or if it succeeds. And finally, another reason why you'd want to do a drawing challenge is a sense of achievement. So at the end of April, I'll be able to look back at all the paintings I've done, and I'll probably feel quite proud of what I've achieved because I've got that kind of set time period where I can then reflect on everything I've done. And I think as an artist, you sometimes need to take time to step back and look at what you have actually achieved. You can be so focused on what's next, what's not good, what you haven't done, and actually look back at what you have done and what you've built upon. And I think that's really important to remember. When choosing an art challenge, it's really important not to set yourself up for failure. So back in September, I tried to do the 100-day drawing challenge where you create a piece of art every day for 100 days. And this is quite a popular one. However, it's very, very intensive. I didn't have time every day to do a drawing. And if I say did 3 drawings one day and then the next day I was really busy and I wasn't able to do a drawing, that seemed a bit like a failure to me. And even then, I still couldn't keep up with things. Actually, that's a bit demoralizing, that kind of challenge. So I think with this vermilion drawing challenge, I've set myself a time scale where I'm only doing it in April, but I haven't set kind of like any productivity outcomes. If I just did one painting in vermilion, I would technically have completed the challenge. I obviously haven't. I've created quite a lot of paintings. So if you've decided to do a drawing challenge, make sure it's one that's achievable. If you just started running, you wouldn't aim to do a marathon. If you did a marathon, you'd probably end up completing it. However, you would be knackered, your body would be really sore, and it wouldn't have been an enjoyable process. However, aiming for something like a 5K, you'll probably come out of that with a really good sense of achievement, much better running form, and much better fitness. And then in a few months' time, a few years' time, you could aim for those longer distances. And I think that's important to apply the same kind of methodology to art. If you're just getting back into it and you don't have that much time, don't set yourself a challenge which is going to be very time intensive. I think if you want to develop a skill, there's the phrase work smarter, not harder. When deciding you want to do a drawing challenge, I think it's very important to identify what are the skills you want to learn while doing that drawing challenge. So if you want to find time to do art, then something like 100 days of drawing is probably a great challenge to do because you'll find more innovative ways to fit art into your daily routine. But if you want to build on a different skill, for example, like drawing faces, just drawing something every day for 100 days, you wouldn't actually have been practicing that in particular skill. You could have ended up drawing a load of trees because trees are quick and you could easily fit them in. So instead, you would have probably been better deciding that you're only going to draw faces for the next month, but you don't give yourself any hard pressures that you have to finish a drawing in a day or you have to do a drawing every day. And in that way, you're developing that one particular skill quite intensively. So I recommend identifying 2 skills which you really want to develop upon before you decide to do a drawing challenge. So the next thing when deciding to do a drawing challenge, you'll need to decide upon some rules. So there's quite a few drawing challenges out there already which have quite defined rules. So you've got things like Inktober, which traditionally you only use ink and you work off kind of a prompt sheet, so every day has a different prompt. You could do something like that where you're limiting the material you're using. So you could say, I'm only going to use watercolor for a week or for a month. Or you could say, I'm only going to use oil paints or whatever kind of medium you would like to work on. Another drawing challenge you could do that I see quite a lot is 1,000 faces or 100 faces. And that's where for 100 days or for your next 100 paintings, you only draw faces. And if you look online, there's quite a lot of catalogues of references for the 100 days of faces because the aim of it is to not just draw the same faces you normally do, the same type of people you normally do, but to push yourself to draw more emotive faces, people of different races, people of different ages, and just develop yourself as an artist in that particular kind of subject matter. Now, you can also, it doesn't just have to be faces, you could take the same kind of concept and apply it to, I want to get really good at drawing birds, so I'll draw 100 birds for 100 days or for the next 100 paintings, or I'll only draw landscapes for the next kind of, month. And they're quite good because they're developing a certain subject and a certain kind of technique where you're able to hone in on how you like to draw certain things, how you want to represent certain things which would be common on all of those pieces. But each piece would be different and would have different challenges. If you're doing a drawing challenge which doesn't already have a predefined timescale, so for example, Inktober is the month of October, November is the month of November, etc., then I think what materials you're using and your familiarity with them really determine the timescale. So, for example, if I was using oil paints, something I'm not particularly familiar with, then I'd probably only want to do a short drawing challenge because I'm not comfortable with that material. I don't know whether after a week I might be fed up and tired with it. Well, if I'm using, for example, in this challenge, I'm using inks which I'm very comfortable with, I know that I enjoy using them, so I know that I can do a longer challenge. But I think you also have to recognize yourself as a person and your personality. If you like chopping things up and changing them quite often, then maybe a longer drawing challenge isn't for you. But if you enjoy that kind of repetitive kind of nature of doing similar things, then maybe a longer drawing challenge will be something that suits you. And I think it's really important to challenge yourself but not set yourself up for failure. You want to have something where you get a sense of achievement at the end. One of the things I haven't really touched upon is the community around drawing challenges. So this doesn't really apply to me as I have quite a small following online and I'm doing quite a niche drawing challenge here. I'm doing vermilion paintings for April. But if you have a larger kind of following online or you're doing one of the more popular drawing challenges, the really well known ones, then it can be a great way to kind of interact with the art community online. It can also be a great way to kind of interact with people you've never interacted before and kind of grow your connections. Things like Draw This in Your Style challenge are very short running challenges, however, they're really great ways to connect with other artists and also to explore different kind of styles. I think you can get a little bit trapped into whenever I do Draw This in Your Style, I end up transferring some of the original artist's style into my own. But as a kind of a beginner artist, that's quite a good thing. Like I've learned quite a lot of different skills and techniques from these challenges, and it's really nice to see what other people kind of interpret from the same drawing prompt. Just going back to the painting, you can see that I'm removing the masking fluid. If you watch my last Chatty paint with me, you'll know that I'm quite new to using masking fluid. And this one I find you can see it is taking up a little bit of the caddy paper that I'm using, and I can't decide whether I'm just pulling it off wrong or whether it just doesn't work terribly well with the paper. It works quite well for the masking, and because this isn't some like big kind of final piece I'm planning on selling, I'm not too bothered that it has pulled up the paper a little bit. And now I'm just coming back in to the areas where I want the kind of pencil to shine through a bit of contrast. I really like this purple pencil for the contrast, and I'm just filling in those details. It's kind of been an unofficial rule for me that I've been doing any of the greenery in this vermilion colour, and then anything which is kind of man-made, like those telephone poles and the road and the fence, I've been doing in the kind of purple pencil. This isn't something I'll do in all of my paintings, and it wasn't something I kind of set out as a rule for this challenge. However, I really like the look of it. Now that I've got most of the purple pencil down, I'm using the white ink as before as a kind of a sealant to kind of fix any of the pencil in place. I'm also using it on the sky just to make a little bit of a difference between the normal paper colour. The white does mute down the pencil colour a little bit, so I am looking to get a fixative because sometimes I have to go back over in pencil, but for now it works. And finally, I'm just going in with some little extra details where there's masking fluid I couldn't go in, just kind of trying to get some gravel on the edge of the road. So kind of in summary of this video, I would really recommend doing a drawing challenge, but I wouldn't recommend going into one blindly. Have a good think if it's going to be one which is going to be quite long term. Identify why you want to do it, what you hope to get out of it, and most importantly, make it fun, choose things which will be fun for you to do, and enjoy yourself. I've been really chuffed with my pieces coming out of this vermilion challenge. They look really good and they really helped improve my landscape work and my kind of colour work. Here is the final peel and reveal of this landscape. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really like the trees on the left hand side and the kind of fields in the distance and these kind of like funny mounds on the right. It's really cute. So thanks for watching and I hope to see you next time.